to yet another exciting edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. On this edition of the program, Rivers Hoopers sign another top star ahead of the Basketball League. And coming in from the African Games, Team Nigeria in a first loss. Coming in from football, it was a goal riot last night as Arsenal hammered Sheffield by 6 unreplied goals. Details of these and many more will be yours when we return from the break. Stay with us.
Killing him not to counterpunch.
Television Network, and on this hour I have with me Michael. Michael, how are you?
Morning to you and morning to our viewers out there.
Okay, we'll get started. We'll start from basketball. And talking about basketball reminds me that Rivers Hoopers, preparing ahead of the Basketball League in Africa, has fortified their team with a star player. Talking about this star player, you remember Nigeria, after he emerged as the winner of the Nigerian League, did qualify, and playing in the Basketball League is a different ball game altogether. So they need to fortify their team with players that has drastic cognitive experience, especially at the Basketball League. So Kevin Adayo right now is the latest acquisition by Rivers Hoopers ahead of the Basketball League coming up in a few weeks from now.
Yes, of course, I think it's a nice one for me. Just like you said, the Nigerian Basketball League is quite different when you talk about the ball out there. There are more teams out there that is very, very hungry, that boast of good players out there that can also help their team to do exploit. And that is the reason why Rivers Hoopers is trying to add one or two, or make one or two injections into their team so as to beef up the team. And of course, you saw their exploit last time out when they actually won the Nigerian Basketball League here. Of course, having done so, I think for me, they needed this additional quality in the team to be able to help them go find the coming. Yes, of course, if you take a look at some of the team that he has played for, you quite agree that is indeed a journeyman, one who does not stay in one place. And that is what you get when you are very good players out there. Many good clubs out there will come for your services. And of course, teams or clubs out there that you are playing for will be ready to do business if the money is very good. Of course, you can't take away the factor of money in sport generally. And that is why he has been moving from one club to the other.
Well, let's stay away from that story coming in for the Basketball League. And quickly, we might just bring you just one or two stories coming across in the basketball. That is the NBA this time around. And it looks like it is a good win for Milwaukee Bucks, because even without their star player, Giannis Antetokounmpo, they continue to win, in the NBA. It was 103 points to 106 in the early hours of this morning against the opponents, LA Clippers.
Yes, of course, without, their key man out there, their star man, talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks was able to continue in that fine form that they've actually found this very season. And I think for me, it's a very massive one for them out there. Knowing fully well that your star man is not in the team, but then the rest of the players were able to rally around and get the needed victory. It tells you the quality that Milwaukee Bucks, has this season going forward in the NBA. And of course, if they continue in this format, I tell you, they will definitely become one of the contenders for the NBA this season.
Milwaukee Bucks, former champions, doing their best to attain a respectable status at the end of the basketball season. And in the absence of Adetikumbo, Lilian Damian is continuing to fill up well. 41 points, 16 rebounds in this fixture against early Clippers is quite a remarkable scoreline.
Definitely, and of course, this is what you need in a team out there. Whenever your star man is not, in the game or not fit or whatever reason that made him out of the game, but then you need other players also to step up their game, to step into his shoe and able to carry the burden of the team out there. Scoring 41 points, that is very, very massive. And of course, for me, if their star man comes back and is able to combine effectively well with Gianni Adetokounmpo, then the attack would be very, very devastating. And of course, I know the coach of Milwaukee Bucks was even talking about that in a few hours ago now, just after that game. And of course, for me, I think it's a great one that when a star man is not available, then other players need to step up into the shoe, up their ante, and ensure that give their team that needed victory out there.
Well, I think it is good news for Milwaukee Bucks and, of course, their coach, Doug Rivers. He just joined the team and is continuing to win games. Now it is a winning streak of 6 games for Milwaukee Bucks, and I think Doug Rivers' impact is beginning to show on Milwaukee Bucks with Damian Lillard doing the double there. I would just hope that it will continue. But Christian is out of this one injured. We didn't see, of course, Milwaukee Bucks, Gianni Adetokounmpo. Another star man, Chris Middleton, is out injured.
Yes, quite unfortunate for Chris out there. I was actually following him, online. In his X handle, and he was very, very disappointed as well. He was very, very emotional because of that injury. And of course, for me, it is part and parcel of the game. The injury, you can't take it away from the game. But coming at a time where your team is needed your services most, for them to be able to contend effectively this season, injury knocked him out. I think it's a very sad news for the team, but then wish him a quick recovery.
While Milwaukee Bucks were able to beat LA Clippers at home, it wasn't the same for the other club side. I'm talking about the Brooklyn Nets because Memphis Grizzlies beat them by 106 points to 102 points out there in Brooklyn.
I think it's a disappointing one for them. Looking at their last 5 games, 5 matches, I think they've been very, very poor. And that poor form continue on. I think they just need to find what seems to be the solution because don't forget, they started the season like a house on fire, churning out a good result out there. But as the season went on, they just continue to go back the drill. I think for me, it's a quite disappointing one for them. The coach was speaking shortly after that game. He said that he truly is going to find a solution so that to be able to help his players bounce back. But for now, he thought that the emotions of the player are very, very low, that he was saying that he's going to do everything possible to ensure that he talk some sense into the players out there, able to lift their spirit so that they can be able to get back their mojo, get back their rhythm, start winning games. And of course, for me, if they do that, I definitely assure you they will start winning games.
Utah Jazz, yes, Utah Jazz made a home account against Washington Wizards, 127 points to 106 points.
Yes, Utah Jazz, they just their opponent out there. In their last game, they lost their last game, but in this second game, they were able to go back to the drawing board and correct some of the errors in their last game, and they were able to bounce back very strong. They had to judge their opponent massively out there. Great one for Utah Jazz.
Well, talking about winning at home, LA Lakers did just that against their opponents, and I must tell you, it was 115 points to 104 points scored by Sacramento Kings.
Great one for Sacramento Kings out there. I think most of their players, they actually, so 1 or 2 of their players that went on injury, they actually came back last 2 weeks. And of course, if you have your key players out there back from injury, back into the first team out, of course, it gives the entire team that confidence, give them that morale, give them that push, that boost for them to continue to fly high. And that is what we saw.
116 points to 104 points there in favor of, the home side, and LA Lakers, they continue. Of course, the imbroglio with their main man out there. I talk about their main man, LeBron James. He seems to be having a good time in spite of playing in his 21st season in the NBA.
Yes, of course, he seems to be having a very, very good setup, a very massive record for himself out there. 40,000 points, I think is a great one, but then it was that of a mixed feeling as they could not get the expected victory in that one.
21 season in the NBA, that's quite a record in itself, and of course, the number of points there, most points in the NBA as well, 40,000 plus. That's massive for legendary player in basketball, LeBron James. Let's stay away from basketball now and go to bring you the latest coming from the All-African Games. The All-African Games is just a day or so, a few days away from now, but we now know that some games have already started. But before we look at one or two games that have started, 350 athletes are expected to represent Nigeria in 25 sports. This has been confirmed by the Nigerian Olympics Committee.
Yes, of course, I think it's a good one. But for me, if you ask me, honestly speaking, I don't think that carrying out a very large contingent out there makes no sense, where we are having challenges in our different sport ministry out there. Take a look at the Nigerian Basketball Federation. We are having a lot of challenges out there, talking about taekwondo as well, coiling. These are some of the challenges we've been facing. And in athletic generally, we have some of our athletes who are staff for us who is not going to be part and parcel of this one, courtesy of one challenges or the other. Is either they are banned or they are involved in one doping issue or the other. But then I think for me, like I said, we should go there with a large contingent with the purpose of going out there to make a very strong statement, to fly the flag of Nigeria very high, and not just going out there to make up the number, but to go out there and contend, compete favorably well, hoping to come back home with major laurels out there. So for me, I think that should be the purpose, the essence of this large contingent, and not just going out there to spend our taxpayers' money and come back.
Nearly 400 Nigerian athletes set for the All-African Games coming up in 3 cities in Ghana, Accra, Kumasi, and I think Cape Coast. These 3 cities will be, destination of all eyes coming in the next 48 hours from now, because the African Games gets underway on the 8th, and it promises to be very thrilling. Talking about the African Games reminds me that following the second place finish at the just concluded Nigerian cricket games, we know that the female Yellow Greens, that's the female cricket side of Nigeria, definitely are in for yet another spectacular games.
Definitely, they are in for another spectacular games, and of course, riding under the back heel of coming second, they just concluded a T20 invitational tourney. I think it's a great one for them out there. It will help them as well to shape up, the level of the players out there. Of course,
the Nigerian female team did beat their counterparts from Rwanda at the T20I tournament.
Yeah, and of course, you know that Rwanda is another very strong side as well. Heading into that game, we actually lost, the game preceding to that game against Rwanda, but then we had to bounce back and we win Rwanda in that very one. Of course, like I said, Rwanda is a force to be reckoned with. Don't forget, they share about 4 titles, between them and the female Yellow-Green. We won it twice, and Rwanda as well won it twice. So heading into that game, I thought maybe our guests are going to capitulate, but then they came to the party and they were able to take the game down to the Rwandans, and we defeated them, coming second, behind Tanzania. But then I think for me, the only positive we can drive going forward is that these games has been able to keep these players in shape going to continue that fine form that we saw them. They just concluded a T20 invitational tourney. If they take it down to the African Games, as I assure you, we will definitely have something to smile home about.
Talking about the Nigerian female cricket side, coming on heels of 6 spectacular games, going to the the African Games, definitely will be nice for the team. And they've taken a big side like Rwanda. I'm not too sure they'll have that quality when it gets to the African Games, but yeah, we expect the female Greens of Nigeria to get to the podium at the African Games, which is just 48 hours from now. Talk about 48 hours where the African Games will get underway in the official capacity. Some games have actually started, at the games before the official opening ceremony. And that game, one of the games is table tennis, where Kudi Doka crashed out from the after winning the very first game.
I think for me, it's like inexperience actually caused.
This was the very first win at the African Games.
Yes.
At the age of 12.
Yeah, I think. I mean, going to a new environment where you have a large number of crowd out there watching you as such a rookie, you understand what it is. I think sometimes inexperience as well matter a whole lot. And of course, this is a good exposure for some of the.
This is their first game they are playing at the African Games, so
yes.
they are debutants already.
Yes, so you expect them to show that signs of complacency, sign of inexperience, but then it is a good one for them to go and get that exposure out there. You help them to build up their talent going forward.
Talking about Kuti, the Nigerian who lost at the second round of the African Games table tennis event. He actually took out his opponent in the first game against, that was an opponent from Ghana. The host nation, but first shot against the Algeria's Madin Bella, becoming the very first Nigerian to exist the championship in Accra, Ghana. At the age of 12, I'm very sure he should be very proud of himself, having taken the first game and lost out in the second. I'm very sure that the Nigerian continent should be able to keep him at least for the rest of the tournament to get a note of feel of it and what it means to be at the championship. I must say congratulations to Kudi, who, though lost out in the second round, was able to take out his home opponent in the very first game. Offiong Edem, very known name in table tennis, the first Nigerian to qualify for the quarterfinals of the table tennis event at the women's singles in Accra, Ghana. Good
one for Offiong out there. Of course, just like you say, Offiong is becoming a household name when you talk about tennis in the country out there.
And sorry, I can't counterpart Trilov.
Yeah, and of course, for me, I think this is one that we need to watch out for. We need to keep a close tab on her because she's doing extremely well out there. Of course, making this very strong statement in such a big podium, it clearly tells you of the quality that Offiong brings to the table out there. Of course, for me, I think this is when we need to keep a close tab on some of these our good talents out there. Allow them to, grow through the rank and also give them the needed support so that it can also boost their confidence going forward.
Offiong Edem winning up to the quarterfinal stage of the African Games, having taken out a counterpart from Kenya, now has a well-known opponent from Egypt to contest with at the quarterfinals. Egypt and Nigeria are African powerhouses in table tennis.
Yes, of course. Then I think it's going to be a very tall mountain for Offiong out there, but then it is not inachievable. She can also still do it because I believe she has the quality. But when you talk about the North Africans, they are always a force to be reckoned with as well, just like Nigeria. But then I believe that Offiong knows that there is a whole lot expected of her, and I believe that she's going to up her game against the North African.
While a lot is expected from Offiong Edem, same or even more expected from Haruna Quadri, of course, Nigeria's highest and well-known, best-known tennis player. Haruna Quadri hopes to add at least a medal at the African Games. He's never had it in the singles before. It's always been jinxed, but now, at the age of 32, he's been drawn by in the very first single event after defeating Mbati Mbosi from the Central African Republic in 3 straight set games to advance to the round of 32, coming up in just about 48 hours or so from now. Mike, Haruna Quadri, clearly African best player from Nigeria in table tennis, but the only African medal missing in Quadri's collection is the men's singles title at the African Games. He's never won a singles title at the African Games in all of his 3 decades of participating in tennis.
Yes, and of course, that is the primary reason why you expect him to do very well in this very one. He has started in a good footing. You want to also, win that medal, which has become the only trophy that is missing in his cabinet. And at this point in time, at 32, you expect him to ensure he do everything possible to ensure that he coasted this one home. But then, I think there is a whole lot of challenges, a whole lot of hurdles standing before him. But then, I feel for me, Haruna Quadri has all it takes to be able to ITTF out there. He was not there, courtesy of food poisoning 24 hours before that championship, and you saw how the dismal performance of our team out there because of the fact that Haruna Quadri wasn't part and parcel of that very one. So you expect him to do everything possible to nick this one in the board.
Haruna Quadri and Jinx at the African Games hopes to end in Accra, Ghana for the All-African Games due to officially get underway in Accra, Ghana, Cape Coast, and the other city in Ghana. Just 48 hours, like I said, the official opening ceremony will get underway. But before the opening ceremony, tennis, some events like tennis have already started. Time for us now to take our break. When we return from the break, there's more to talk about in tennis, where the WTA and the ATP 500 title games, matches are going on. Teams, players are getting set ahead of the next Grand Slam of this season. Beyond tennis, there is more to come from football. Rivers United may just know their opponent in the days ahead, and beyond their opponents at the CAF quarter-final stage of the Confederations Cup. In the English Premier League, it is getting very hot at the top. Liverpool, Manchester City, and Arsenal. Arsenal was merciless last night against Sheffield United, 6 unreplied goals. We'll give you all of the details when we return from the break.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable
You are a human
on them. They are not picking our calls. They made up their mind.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and I have Mike with me. Together we'll bring you up to speed with the latest happening around the world of sports. We talked about the African Games getting underway in just about 48 hours, with Nigeria having a sleep in the table tennis event. But then we have, of course, a tennis player in the quarterfinals already. And beyond that, there's more to come, because the ATP 500 and of those WT 500 are ongoing across the world. In San Diego, we saw Kathleen Butler win her very first title by fighting back from a set down to defeat Marta Kostok in the San Diego Open final. It was 5-7 in the first game, then it turned around in the 6-2, 6-2 in the biggest triumph of her career so far.
Massive one for her out there. Of course, having to come from behind the first set, to be able to gain that victory speaks a volume of the quality that she brings to the table. Of course, course of this victory, it has catapulted her to world number 27, which is the highest in her ranking so far in her professional career, which is very, very massive for her.
Massive for Kotler, and we just hope that she will continue. I haven't taken out Kustok, a well-known Ukrainian female tennis player. This is really, really massive. Like you mentioned, they are 27th in the world, and we hope she can build on it going ahead. Let's see what's happening in the male category. Rublev, with ranking points and prize money already after an appeal, after he won an appeal. Remember last time he lost some ranking points and, of course, prize money after being disqualified from the Dubai Tennis Championship. Remember the Russian was clearly defaulted for unsportsmanlike conduct in a semi-final with Alexander Bublik, but now it looks like all of this has been turned around.
Turn around, but you will say, but then the fine still remain hanging out there, and that is where I'm actually not getting it.
Why do you have to swear at a judge?
But for me, I think if the fine has been torn down, why also sticking that some of the penalties? Yes. Some of the penalties that have been, attached to her has been squashed, has been dropped, but then the money, the fine is still very much intact. And of course, he has not admitted of being force in that accusation. Of course, it was a whistleblower that actually intimated the authority that this is what he actually said, that he swear at the official. And of course, for me, I think that is very, very unsportsmanlike. Like if they are actually dropping the charges, then you should be very, very holistic. You drop every charge against him. But if you are still holding on that indeed he did something wrong, then he must also, face the full wrath of the law.
Talking about facing the full wrath of the law, he has the ranking points restored, but the fine, nearly $40,000 is still in place. Away from tennis now, let's go to Formula One, where I can tell you this hour that the FIA president, that the Formula One Association president, is under investigation for attempt to interfere with Formula One race. Mohammed bin Salim, president of Motorsports, is under investigation. You think this will see the light of the day? A whistleblower is involved in this one as well.
Yes, of course. I think he's going to, if the whistleblower prove beyond reasonable doubt, if he brings forth a very strong evidence, I think he's going to be in trouble as he stands. But for me, I think that is the height of indiscipline, the height of unprofessionalism, where you are trying to use your authority, use your office or portfolio as a makeshift for you to, so change the process of things. I mean, there is a guiding rules, there is a guiding principle, an extant law that governs, that organization. Which, for me, I don't think that it is wise that you should use your own authority trying to intervene when a player does something wrong and they are trying to, put up a caution. You just want to intervene because you feel that you are in a position of authority. What if it happens to an opponent which you don't like? It means that you are not going to intervene. Such a person will go in for it. So for me, I think it's a very, very wrong one. But then he's stand innocent yet right now until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. But for me, I think it is not a nice one for you to try to use your authority in the system, try to influence a certain decision out there.
Alonso involved in this one, it was under a 5-second penalty, and of course involved again in yet another 10-second penalty where Ben was trying to manipulate. We just hope that the whistleblower will prove his point very well, and if he does, I'm not too sure that Ben Salem will keep his job as the head of Formula One. Let's stay away from that and quickly go to boxing. And talk about boxing, 2 Africans are expected to square up in any moment soon in Saudi Arabia in the heavyweight category. And of course, you remember Anthony Joshua of Nigeria, and of course Francis Ngannou of Cameroon is just joining the heavyweight division in boxing proper. You know, he's of the Ultimate Fight Championship, but he's already shown his ability against Tyson Fury, and he wants to do the same against Anthony Joshua. In fact, against Anthony Joshua, he believes that he can knock him out, from the ring. Do you believe Francis Ngannou's threat to Anthony Joshua, that he could send Anthony Joshua to the canvas?
Very, very possible, and I think Anthony Joshua should not take this threat for lightly, because we saw what Ngannou did against the Gypsy King, talking about Tyson Fury, where he actually knocked him down, but then, courtesy of that unanimous decision, he was denied of the victory, which for me still remains very, very controversial. So if Ngannou could knock down such persons such as Tyson Fury, I think Joshua need to be very, very wary in this very one, because coming up against Ngannou is a very, very solid boxer out there. Though you may say that he's still alien to the world of boxing, but then his prowess, his punching power, his jab can never be underrated, can never be underestimated, and this is the point where I want Joshua to also take precaution heading into that one against Ngannou. And Anthony Joshua is in a very good form right now, coming at the back heel of winning 3 straight fights so far. I think he's boiled up with a whole lot of confidence. I saw the footage of his training out there. It clearly tells you that he's not leaving anything to chances, but then when they get to the ring in Saudi, he must be very, very wary of the punching power of Francis Ngannou. If not, it will definitely hurt Anthony Joshua.
Let's get to football now and talk about football. The Nigerian Premier League continues across the country, and one result that has reverberated the last 12 hours is the encounter between Aqua and Enyimba International at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium last night. It was Aqua 3, Enyimba International 1. What a return from Eket to you, and it is with maximum points and 3 goals for the Promise Keepers.
Great one for Aqua United, though you may say that Aqua United is very, very shaky. They've had a very poor form this season. You know, at point in time, I begin to ask myself, is this really Aqua United? Because Aqua United, I know of, they are trying to, they have been making their presence known in the NPFL, especially during 2019, 2020, 2021, you know, and this is a team that have also won the league as well. So they are not newcomers, you know, in the NPFL, you know, but their results this season have been very, very disappointing to the chagrins of the fans. Of course, they went to Eket. It looks as though it's not a good ground for them, but now that
a lot of people are talking about the fact that the pitch at Eket is astro tough, and this is different from the natural grass where they normally play at Uyo. And return to Uyo on the natural grass, they have made maximum points, and not just maximum points, 3 goals as well.
I think for me that might be one of the challenges that they've had, you know, throughout this season. Returning back to the, you know, Uyo Township Stadium, I think is a great one for them, and doing that in a very good fashion, defeating the league contender. Talking about Enyimba 3 goals to 1 is not a mean feat, it's not a fluke, because they actually worked for it. I had to watch the footage of that game. They actually played excellently well against a very strong Enyimba, who is also hunting for the title. Don't forget, they are just 39 points right now, courtesy of that loss. You know, they should have toppled Lobista, who, you know, gained back the top spot, you know, over the weekend after their win. They are on 42 points right now. So I think for me, it was a good victory for, you know, Aqua United, who have played in their last 5 matches. They've lost all 4 and won just 1. While Enyimba, in their last 5 matches, Enyimba has won 3, drawn 1, and lost 1. So coming up against a very strong Enyimba that is contending for the league, defeating them, humbling them by 3 goals to nothing, I think is a massive one for Aqua United. Let's hope that they can be able to build on this victory going forward. Aqua
United need to build on their victory at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium, where they beat Enyimba by 3 goals to 1 just last night. Talking about the Godswill Akpabio Stadium reminds me of Rivers United, you know, qualifying for the quarter-final stage of the CAF Confederations Cup, courtesy of a 2-1 win over the opponents from Ghana, Dreams FC. And this victory is seeing Rivers United as the only Nigerian team yet still in the African competition, both the Champions League and the Confederations Cup, shows has elated the sports minister, Ewan, who has already charged Rivers United to ensure that they move beyond the quarter-final stage and bring the cup to Nigeria. No Nigerian club side, Mike, has been able to win the CAF Confederations Cup. Yeah. Can Rivers United do it? They did it. They waited till the 9th minute of that encounter against Dream FC to make qualification setting. I was in that stadium, and it was looking very difficult. But it looks like it has more to do with APC Lobito going to, let's say, the Lions Den in Tunis to, you know, play out a 1-1 draw with Club Africain.
For me, I think it's going to be a very Herculean task for Rivers United, you know, looking at what stands before them right now, because definitely they are going to meet one of the North African teams. And of course, you know, the antics of this, most of these North African teams when they are playing at home, they try to, you know, do everything possible to ensure that they distract, you know, the away team out there from not coming to get a positive result. And for me, I think Rivers United in the game, you know, I was not very, very satisfied. You know, they had to go down in the game first before coming from behind to win that very well. And they had to do that at the nick of time, at the dying minute of additional time, which for me it wasn't convincing. We had to also, you know, thank APC Lobito of Angola, who went away to gain a very valuable point. For me, I think that did the job for us, because APC Lobito, who is the whooping boys of that group, nobody expected them to go away in Tunis to get that, you know, 1-1 draw. But then we have them to thank for that result. But talking about how far Rivers United can go this season, there's a whole lot of challenges bedeviling them right now as we speak. You know, don't forget, in the first game, they had to even threaten, the players threatened to down tools. The players threatened not to go away because of they are being owed of their Esther code and some other.
I don't think that is correct, because discussions with the players and even the officials in Uyo show that they are not being owed any money, and they are right now in a good state. There was no plan to boycott the match in Uyo. But let's get across. Still looking at these fixtures. North African teams have all qualified as the first place teams, and Rivers United qualified as the second place. So it will be one of the first place teams against one of the second place teams at the quarterfinal stage of the competition. Where are you likely to see Rivers United meet?
Definitely. I think all of this, North African teams, no one of them you can just push over and say this one is not a very strong team. All of them are very, very strong. All I just wish is that Rivers United should also prepare very, very hard for this very one. But again, there are some worries for me, because in the last 1 month right now, it's going to last 1 month right now, that we've not heard from Stanley Eguma on the touchline, and we don't seem to know what is behind all of this, because I listened to the media person a few days ago in a certain platform where he was quizzed, where is Stanley Eguma and all of that. It was very, very economical, with the truth out there, and that is why I'm very, very worried. What is happening to Stanley Eguma that has not been in the touchline close to 1 month right now? Is it on a vacation? Is it an injury? Is he in the hospital? What actually, there is a whole lot of things that is shrouded in secrecy when you talk about Rivers United backroom staff right now, which for me, I think is going to be a distraction for the team. We need to complain and know what is happening to the chief coach before we know how to tackle some of these issues. But going to meet any North African team out there, none of this team is a pushover, so they just need to prepare for whatever.
Well, Rivers United may likely meet USM Alger, defending champions of the competition. They have Zamalek of Egypt as well to contend with, or RSB Barkene of Morocco. All tough opponents, I must tell you. And so Rivers United must prepare themselves so well for the quarterfinal stage of the CAF Confederations Cup. Talking about the absence of Coach Stanley Eguma from the bench of Rivers United in the last couple of weeks, we understand, my inquiries has it that Stanley Eguma is on medical leave, and we'll just hope that maybe in the days ahead he will be back, but it looks very suspicious. And now a lot of people are asking, where is Eguma, like he said, but official position from the club right now as we speak is that he's on medical vacation. When this vacation will be over, that we don't know for now. But in the days ahead, we'll keep our eyes on everything happening around Rivers United, especially as they prepare to go past the quarterfinal stage of the CAF Confederations Cup. Like we mentioned earlier, no Nigerian club side has won the CAF Confederations Cup in all of its history. So we want to see Rivers United do that. But Mike, they may not be in a position to win the CAF Confederations Cup, some people will say, but they've been able to do Nigeria proud by ensuring that 4 slots is maintained from next season in the CAF Confederations Cup, because if they have lost out, from the group stage of the competition, Nigerian slot at the African competition will have been reduced from 4 to 2.
I think it's a massive one for Rivers United, trying to put the country on a map out there so that we increase, the quota of Nigerian clubs out there come next year. I think it's a great one, worthy of commendation. Let's
quickly go to Europe now. And talking about Europe, last night it was a goal riot at the Brallan Lane, home of Sheffield United. Arsenal went there and beat the home side by 6 goals to nothing. And this 6 goals to nothing now has created a record on both sides. First, on the home side, Sheffield United will have now lost by 5 or more goals at home. So they can be described as the most porous team in the history of English football, losing, 3 consecutive games by 5 or more goals. That's the history created by Sheffield United. And for Arsenal, they become the very first team in English football as well to score 5 or more goals in 3 consecutive away games. So it was history galore last night, both on the part of Sheffield United conceding conceding 5 or more goals in 3 consecutive home games, being the most porous you can ever see in English football, all of English football, and of course Arsenal, scoring 5 or more goals in 3 consecutive away games. What a record, Michael.
What a record for Arsenal are they, despite the fact that they don't have a point man, outright striker, you may say. But then, looking at their pattern of play, it's very, very clear that Arsenal team can also get the goals even without a point man.
They had five goal scorers, different goal scorers last night on 6 goals. But talking about Arsenal last night, I think they humiliated the home side. In the very first 15 minutes, some of the fans have started leaving Bradland Lane, the home of the away team. After scoring, Arsenal scored 3 goals in 15 minutes. Some fans started leaving just 15 minutes into the game. And by the time it was 25 minutes, it was 4 goals and more fans left. And by the time it was 39 minutes, it was 5 goals and more fans left the stadium. I've never seen this kind of a thing before, where fans left the stadium even before the end of the first half.
I think those that hold season ticket holders for Sheffield will be very, very disappointed. They will even blame themselves for purchasing such a ticket. I mean, I actually watched the game. You know, just like you said, less than 15 minutes, most of the fans have started leaving through the tunnel, and it was quite disappointing for Sheffield. And I think for me, it's very, very unacceptable for the kind of performance so far. And I tell you one thing that is very, very sure: they will definitely, you know, go down to the relegation as it stands right now. But for Arsenal, great record for them.
Well, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester City have a lot of dates to keep. If you allow me to look at it, right now, Arsenal has plus 41 points and more goals. They've scored more goals than both Manchester City and Liverpool so far this season. So it's going to be really, really tough who gets the league at the end of the day, with just about 2 points difference between them. That will be it for this edition of Sports Talk. Definitely we'll be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time for Sports Extraordinary. Then we'll definitely look at how Inter Milan is giving a 15-point gap at the Italian Serie A. Who can stop Inter Milan at this year's Scudetto? When we return from, of course, we go now, but we'll definitely return at 6 p.m. for Sports Extraordinary. Till then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic.
Telling him not to counterpunch.